More than 4 years on, is Turkey being drawn into the conflict in neighboring Syria? We are monitoring news of government forces firing across the border at militants in an area controlled by ISIS. It could be the latest ripple effect from Monday's bomb blast in Suruc. That's a border town on the Turkish side. Not only were 32 killed there, most of them anti-jihadist student activists, the explosion just over the border from Kobane has since driven a new wedge between Ankara and the banned PKK, with policemen targeted in what the outlawed Kurdish movement calls revenge attacks. Will the killings kill as well the ongoing peace process with the PKK, or even scuttle coalition talks in the capital, giving the ruling AK party a chance to rebound from a rare electoral setback with snap elections? The PKK accuses the government of Recep Tayyip Erdogan of complicity with ISIS, a charge vehemently denied. In fact, it's even a talking point that the government this time officially blames ISIS for the Suruc attack. In the past, similar attacks were often blamed on, quote, Syrian agents, pushing critics to argue that Ankara's priorities at its border were first the Kurds, second the forces of Bashar al-Assad, and lastly the jihadists. Again, the government says that's unfair, and we'll see just how far those priorities have evolved. Today in the France 24 debate, a turning point for Turkey. With us to talk about it from Ankara, columnist, former member of parliament, Suat Kiniklioglu. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Joining us from Istanbul, Talha Koze, who teaches at Istanbul University and a researcher at the Turkish think tank SETA. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
And in the studio, freelance reporter Ayşegül Sert. Nice to see you again. And French journalist Alain Caval, who I'm more used to speaking to when he's in places like Gaziantep in southeastern Turkey.
Right.
Welcome to Paris.
Thank you.
The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and on Twitter. Our hashtag F24debate. Suat Kiniklioglu, we're hearing then that there's been one Turkish soldier killed, reprisal attacks. There have been fighter jets scrambled. In recent memory, we haven't seen this kind of cross-border skirmish, have we, between Turkish forces and what appears to be ISIS militants?
That's exactly true. As you know, 2 days ago, we had a horrendous terror attack in Suruc, where we lost 32 young people, which has outraged the nation. And in response to that, the sensitivity vis-a-vis ISIS and its activities on the border have extremely increased and sensitized. So I was not surprised to see the border skirmish, which seems to be unrelated and in a smaller scale than the international media seems to afford its attention. However, it's important that the border security seems to be tightened and that the Turkish armed forces have been responding forcefully to the attack by ISIS militants.
Is that going to stop at that, a skirmish?
I think it will depend on what ISIS and what people call sleeping cells inside Turkey will do. I hope that ISIS will not, or elements who are sympathizing with ISIS will not attempt any other outrageous terror acts inside Turkey or on the border. But I think it would not be a surprise if these attacks continue towards Turks or Kurds. I think it would not be a surprise to expect the Turkish armed forces taking stricter measures to counter the threat. Also, we hear rumors about an agreement between the United States and Turkey on the use of Incirlik being allowed for the coalition that is fighting against ISIS.
That's that airbase that's 100 kilometers north of the border.
Exactly. It's not confirmed news yet, but if it's true, I think it's a very welcome step to see Turkey now finally being part of the coalition that is fighting effectively against ISIS.
Talha Koze, why has the Incirlik air base not been allowed to be used for sorties for the coalition that's fighting ISIS?
I think
well, the government's...
Go ahead, Tala Koze.
Yeah, I think there is a disagreement between Turkey and U.S. about the future of Syria, the understanding of the threat.
Tala, unfortunately, I'm going to interrupt you because the sound quality right now is poor. We're going to try to call you back and get a better
Sure.
connection on that line. Are things changing fast right now in Turkey after this attack?
I think it was time that they change a little bit. I mean, it's interesting. Your guest, Suat, just said that the border security needs to be tightened, and he talked about stricter borders. I think we needed to do that a little earlier. In terms of just in the 6 months, there have been hundreds and actually thousands of Turkish, Kurdish, foreign jihadis who were stopped, either detained or stopped at the border or blacklisted, and this is only in this past 6 months. Imagine if Turkey had taken these stricter measures over 4 years ago, or even 2 years ago, when actually we talked about it, when the situation in Syria was even more clear than it is now. So yes, it needs to take measures. Yes, things are changing. We talked a year ago about Incirlik as well again. We're even talking now about the buffer zone or the security zone that could be created with the walls. It's Turkey for a very long time, unfortunately, and the government has not taken a clear stand on where it stands in terms of...
But do you have the sense, Ayşegül, that all that is changing since Monday?
All that needs to change. I mean, all that is changing, and it needs to change. We're talking about what happened on Monday as if it's the first time that it's happening in Turkey. Last year, the year before, there was a car bomb as well. Just in June 5th, 2 days ago, before the elections, at a rally in Diyarbakir, there was another bomb where civilians died and actually more than 100 people were injured. This is the time when Turkey needs to, instead of continuing to have these ongoing fighting among the four parties, I mean, Turkey is in a clear situation of unrest. And this unrest cannot continue. We don't even have a coalition yet. We have a peace process that's on hold. We have still
coalition government, you mean?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And we might be even going towards an early election in end of November. We have still bans that are being put on the media in order not to show. Yesterday there was a Twitter ban in Turkey for a couple hours. Turkey needs to take a stand now. It needs to take it faster because it's the civilians who are paying the high price for it.
All right. It's true that there are a lot of pieces to this puzzle. There's coalition talks in Ankara. There's tensions with the Kurdish minority. There is, of course, the situation in Syria, and there's ISIS. As you say, a four-way fight. Let's just, for our viewers, put some perspective on it. Go back to the Suruc bombing a second. The prime suspect identified by Turkish media as a man by the name, 20-year-old man by the name of Say Abdurrahman Alagoz, a student from southeastern Turkey. Hurriyet newspaper reporting on the tea house in Adıyaman, where he and his brother were allegedly indoctrinated. In the article, they quote his mother as saying her son had gone abroad for six months ago and returned only 10 days ago before she lost contact with him, saying the other brother also went AWOL and may even have been in Saudi Arabia, or at least claimed to have been at one point. And it's a big shock that there was this suicide attack, which specifically targeted these young students.
Right, but we have to remember that the tensions regarding what's going on in Syria have been high since a long time now. I mean, since October when we were first speaking, I think there have been like a situation that we could describe as kind of cold civil war in Turkey, with Kobani and the fate of Syrian Kurds being extremely important inside Turkey. There have been riots, there have been fightings, people have been killed. And not only fightings between Kurdish militants and the security forces of Turkey, but between Turkish citizens and Kurdish citizens. I mean, what's going on in Syria for 4 years has a huge impact inside Turkey. with a society which is extremely divided. And
a huge refugee population.
Of course, as well. And we have seen that
2
some
million
refugees have been targeted by people lately in Izmir, for example, but even earlier on in October and November in the Kurdish areas. So we have clearly a spillover which is going on, which has not started yesterday or Monday, but which has started.
And these measures announced by the government of most notably more security at the border, stepped up security at the border. Your thoughts on that? Aishagul saying, why didn't all this come sooner?
Yes, I agree with Aishagul, but I'm not sure that it will be sufficient. I mean, Turkey and Syria are part of one reality since the civil war started there. And it's not tightening measures on the border which will allow Turkey to build a wall between Syria and its own territory. I mean, the relations between these two territories are too strong and too high. It will not be sufficient to halt this violence.
All right, our team at the border found citizens who were fired up, both against ISIS and their own government. It's a France 24 report.
48 hours after the attack, the town of Suruc is very slowly moving back towards normality. Despite public fear, these tobacco sellers are back on the streets. And at the barbers, customers turn up despite their fears of another bombing.
People are scared. No one dares to linger in the street anymore. This attack has really left its mark on Suruc's residents.
Beyond the trauma, it's resentment which people here say they're feeling towards authorities, whom the residents blame for failing to avoid the massacre.
Precautions must be taken to step up security here. Everything must be done to avoid the situation in this country getting worse. And for this, we must remain united.
At this gun shop, customers are finding out what they can. Off camera, we're told that these days, every family here has at least one gun. In this majority Kurdish town, no one bothers to mask their distrust in the government anymore, not even the mayor.
People are asking themselves if it's time to learn how to use a gun, women included. The war in Kobani has made them question things. The refugees who've come here, women, children and the elderly, have told us their stories.
At the entrance to the cultural centre where the attack took place, every visitor is now subject to a body search. A sign of the growing gap between Ankara and Turkey's Kurdish community.
All right, the connection is back with Istanbul. Tala Koze, you heard in that report the mayor of Suruc saying that residents are wondering if it's now time to start learning how to use a gun. What's your reaction?
I think the security risk is very high. We have to understand these concerns of the people because there are more than 2 million refugees from Syria, and we don't know with what groups they have sympathy. There are foreign fighters coming to Turkey like tourists, and we don't know where they are. There are also domestic sympathizers of Daesh, and also there is possibility of cross-border people who are getting into Turkey. So security risks are really high, and people don't really know where the threats may come. And it's really understandable that people are taking, their security seriously. And the last attacks also demonstrates how far these threats may come. And maybe the more police or military presence may give some kind of better security, but Kurds are also disturbed from this kind of, more presence of police and more presence of military. So it's a complicated situation. So on the one hand, there's, struggle against the Daesh. On the other hand, Kurds are a little bit concerned more in the presence of security forces. And in this circumstance, people feel they should take their security in their hands.
Suat Kinikioglu, let me get your reaction, especially in the wake of what's happened in the past 2 days what with the murder of 2 policemen in a border town some 160 kilometers from Suruc, and the news today that another policeman's been murdered in the southeastern city of Diyarbakir, that no claim of responsibility there. But yesterday, the PKK putting out a statement saying that it was a revenge attack because of what they call President Erdogan's, quote, complicity with ISIS.
Well, I think one needs to put into perspective the fact that the killing in Suruc, 32 young people who were bringing toys and were trying to build a library in Kobani, this has been an extremely important and psychologically gravitating event. Unfortunately, the government has not been able to understand the significance of Kobani for Kurds, and I'm afraid they are missing the point in Suruc as well. This has created such tension between the Kurds, the PKK, the HDP, and of course also the government and many concerned citizens in this country. So therefore, I think what we see now is these revenge attacks on policemen who have nothing to do with this.
And how, excuse me, but how is the government missing the point in Suruc?
Well, the public perception is that, for instance, there was a great outcry and a call for lowering the flag in the country and to show respect, that there would be official recognition that this was a horrendous attack. But unfortunately, the government chose not to do that. You know, many psychologically and symbolic facts that would have been capable of lowering the tension and assuring citizens that this has been that this issue is being taken care of in a diligent manner has been missed. Unfortunately, the perception for a long time that ISIS elements have been able to freely go in and out into Syria due to a Syria policy that is being criticized by many people, including many AKP supporters. You know, there has been a build-up that made this event such a turning point, and now, unfortunately, we see one of the success stories of this government was really to build a so-called peace process with the PKK. Now we see this slowly crumbling, with the violence now escalating on a daily basis. And if this continues, I'm afraid the whole region could blow up with ISIS, with the Kurds, the Turkish armed forces, and all sorts of other elements becoming part of a regional imbroglio. So, I mean, I hope we will not get there, but the signs are extremely alarming, and many Turks are very, very concerned.
With the peace process with the PKK now in limbo, this peace process which has been going on for, what, more than 2 years now, Ayşegül, have the jihadists succeeded? Since Monday, they've been able to drive a wedge between Turkey's government and the Kurds.
Also, there's only one answer to that, of course not. But to come back to something that Suat said, it is about the missed opportunities in a way to ease the people. When he talked about the lowering of the flag, I believe, if I understand well, he was talking about there are talks in Turkey that there needs to be a call for a national mourning day. That there has been in Turkey on January 24th of this year when the Saudi king died, there was actually the government declared a national mourning day in Turkey, and there's a call in order to help the people ease this moment. I think he was talking about that, and I agree with this. Also, about the missed opportunities again on Monday and Tuesday when the Turkish people in Istanbul and other places went on the streets, such as Taksim, in order to express their not only revolt but also their ache. They were yet again, because this is now a reflex of the Turkish police, greeted by water cannons and gas. There needs to be something to be done. Yes, AKP, the Justice and Development Party, I believe, has done mistakes. every government does. I think but the problem now is not only with the AKP. Now in Turkey, the politicians, and I'm talking about the 4 heads of state, heads of the political parties, need to get together and show a face of unity. I mean, Ahmet Davutoğlu, for instance, on Monday, I'll be very quickly, called for a declaration to be signed against terrorism by the 4 main political parties, and instead of actually trying to show unity.
I'm going to interrupt you because we have to take a very quick break. We're going to pick up on this point when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching the France 24 Bulletin.